Hello, Erke. In this screencast, I'm going to give you feedback to your presentation. Okay, so let's start. The first thing, let's look at the plagiarism. The similarity score says 42%, but that is probably your reference list. Let's check if that's the case. Okay, this is one. I'm not very sure. This is not plagiarism. This is just the name of a university. Don't worry about that. No, that's not plagiarism either. It's probably the reference list. Yeah, so don't worry. You have 0 plagiarism. So that's the first thing. That's good. Now I can see you've used the university template, which is nice. Here I'm not sure what happened. Maybe it's just my view on Moodle. But if this is, maybe you want to bring it up a little bit here so that the date doesn't get lost. I'm not sure. In the actual PowerPoint it may be okay, but just to be on the safe side, you can put it somewhere here. Nice slide design. You've used a good template. Very nice looking outline. Okay, nice, very good. Now just looking at the outline. Self-introduction, great. Overview of research interest, yes. Future goals, yes. Here, before the summary, remember how you have to include a discussion of 2 sources. So maybe your 4 should be overview of source 1, number 5 should be overview of source 2, then summary and references, and then maybe Q&A, just to remind yourself. And that should be no more than 10 slides, right? So I would put the overview of your sources, first and second source, in between 3 and 4 here, right? So let's look at what you've got. Self-introduction, okay. This is who you are, okay, nice. Overview of research, sure. Okay. I don't think you need these sources because the overview is basically generally about diabetes as a thing and as a disease, so you don't need sources here. Brain changes, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I think that's a very nice visual aid because it really shows with colors. It's just very easy to see what's going on. Yeah, nice. A brain scan. Okay, I would put this reference maybe here a little bit closer to the box, either here at the bottom, maybe here would be better, or if it's on the side, it could be right here. See, right there on the bottom, so it doesn't kind of float in midair. Okay. Now this one is a little harder to see because the letters are so small, and I'm not very sure that you would even need this so much. I think basically in your presentation you're going to talk about yourself, your research goals, your ambitions as a future researcher. I think this is probably enough just to discuss the brain changes in Alzheimer. That's enough, I think. Remember, we are talking to non-specialists, so you probably don't need all of this. It's very specific. Hyperglycemia, overload, yeah, probably not. Beta oxidation, all this biogenesis, mitochondrial biogenesis and whatnot. You probably, for non-specialists, this would not make any sense. So I would say, but I do like the idea of these factors. So what you can do, you can make your own graph. You could say, so on the left hand side, you could have these factors, then a big arrow pointing to mitochondrial dysfunction, and then another arrow saying is this leads to diabetes, obesity, insulin resistance, and finally that leads to Alzheimer. I think that's better, and then skip this step here, right? And then because you can make your own graph, you will say adapted from this source. I think that would be a better idea, and make everything bigger, because right now when it's horizontal, you see you don't have a lot of space. But if you make it vertical like that, the arrows going like this way, you will have a lot more space in the slide. You can make the letters bigger. And I think you don't need this step. It's too technical. Just skip it. For somebody who doesn't know about any of this, it's just unnecessary terminology. And again, you don't have much time because it's a very limited time for each of the sections of your presentation. 3 minutes for self-introduction, 3 minutes to discuss your two sources, and 1 minute for conclusion. And that's it. The rest is Q&A. So it's a very quick kind of thing. Okay, the link between. Now here, this is all fine, but we do not want long sentences like that. Instead, see, this is long horizontal chunks of text, whole sentences. You don't want the audience to be reading. Instead, you should have vertical bullet points, right? And to be honest, I'm not even sure that you will have time to discuss this. But if you decide to discuss it, I would say vertical bullet points instead of horizontal long sentences, okay? You don't want the audience reading. Now, future goals. So this is all about you. That's great. But look, it doesn't look that, the slide, this is the title, and right next to it, maybe a bit more space, right? And because it's only one thing, you kind of make it want to look a little bit better. You see, it's all sort of crowded together, future goals, and then almost the same font size. It just doesn't look very good. So maybe find another way to rearrange just in terms of the spacing. But it is a very good goal, obviously. Okay. So all of this is about you. I would totally skip this one. It should be about you, your goals, your research interests. This is the importance of the topic. Fine. Yeah. Where you've studied, who you are. So all of this, you have 3 minutes for all this up to here. So I think this is just not going to work. And it's too technical. Okay. Now the second section should be your sources. But again, you're not so much talking particularly about the content of the sources. You're mostly discussing how these sources have shaped your interest in the topic. So for instance, you can say, a very crucial source in my research about Alzheimer has been Kroner 2009. In that article, I was able to understand that there is a link between this and Alzheimer's disease. Now, this really opened my eyes, and in the future, I want to dig a little bit deeper into this, into the pathological process. What happens with this insulin resistance, and how does it lead exactly to Alzheimer and memory loss and so forth? Just to the non-specialist, it should be very clear to them. But you shouldn't load that discussion with technical jargon. And here the title of the slide could be Overview of Source 1. Let's say, I don't know, whichever source. I mean, I'm not sure what was taken from where. So let's just say Kroner 2009, and then why this was important to you. You will discuss it in relation to your interest. This source gave you a new direction. This source opened your eyes for this new thing. Up until that moment, you were researching Alzheimer's disease in a different way. But after you read this source, you really understood that you have to do this. You have to dig a little bit deeper in that area. So that kind of a discussion. And then the same for the second source. Excuse me. The same discussion will be for the second source. Do you see what I'm saying? So this presentation is a lot about you, your research area, how the sources helped you, how they directed you in the right direction, how they pointed you in the right direction, right? and then you can have a summary. You don't need these many colors here. And again, with the summary, maybe the title, okay, the title is fine, but you can use the space better because you see how they're all kind of smooshed together, right? Maybe a bit more space in between. And I'm not sure what this arrow is doing after the bullet points. It doesn't look very good. And more spacing in between, right? And then you have your reference list, which at this, when I'm looking at it, here you need to indent it. So Bastaki is fine, but this should be indented, should start from here. Same with then this, okay, that's fine. Here, alternative should be indented. These two lines should be indented, and you do not need bullet points in the reference list. No bullet points, and you should have indentation. But overall, this looks good. I like the fact that you've spent so much time on introducing yourself. That's exactly what you need to do. I really like this specific link, but I think this could be part of your source discussion because you just have too much to say, right? And remember, even when you talk about your sources, you really are talking about your research interest. These sources helped you understand something and they inspired you to dig deeper into that area, into this link. So I think that's a very good presentation overall. Just tone down the technical jargon and you should be fine. You're talking to a non-specialist audience, so make them interested in this. Okay? So, okay, just bring a positive energy to the presentation. You should be all right. I have no doubt. I'm very pleased with your work, and I wish you the very best of luck.